Hi, I'm Tom Stephenson, a professor of construction management, and this is Construction Project Management Principles. Today we're going to discuss how to make money on your construction projects. I think one of the things that we often don't remember is how we do things in our own lives. And you can sort of ponder on some of these points, like how does someone build lasting wealth? Well, one of the key things is don't spend or waste the money you make. Warren Buffett has said there are two rules to remember with regards to money. Number one, don't lose money. Number two, don't forget rule number one. Now that sounds easy enough. In the construction industry, it's so easy to waste a lot of money, which is really losing money. There's a lot of unknowns in the construction industry as well that we'll talk about. We also have to make sure that we charge enough in the first place. We have to recognize the value of the services that we're providing. And if we don't do that, right off the bat, we're going to be in a lot of trouble. But focusing back on number one, don't spend or waste the money you make. If you can make a lot of money in your own personal life, and you can easily spend it, right? And if you're spending more than you're making, even if you're making millions, you're still going to end up broke. So that doesn't really change in construction projects too. You could price the project right. You could hire the right contractors, but maybe you don't execute it that well. Maybe you don't organize it that well. And there's a whole bunch of factors that come into play that can actually make you lose money on a project that you should have made money on. So I think we often don't do that. And plus the public in general thinks that anybody in construction is making a fortune. There are a lot of people that are doing very well, thank you very much, in construction, but there's also a lot of people that don't do so well. So let's examine a little bit of that and then really put it into your own personal perspective, right? But keep in mind, the money coming in needs to exceed the money going out. And we can do a lot of things about that. The thing with the construction industry is the downside is bigger than the upside. What do I mean by that? Think about that. In stocks, you can lose 100% of your investment, but you're not losing more than 100% of that investment, right? In construction, when you think about it, if you're a business, there's only so much profit you can make on each project. So you price this project and it's $5 million, $50 million, $500 million, whatever it may be, right? And you put in whatever those direct costs are, you put in whatever your overhead costs are. Overhead is all the things to run your business. You put in a target for profit. And usually in construction, that target's probably somewhere between 4 and 10%. It may be higher on some projects, maybe slightly less on others, depending on the contract and the risk levels that you're taking, right? So you put in trying to target certain amounts. Now, if it's a $5 million project and you say had 10% in, right? That's kind of on the high side, 10% in, that'd be $500,000 for profit, right? How much more do you think, if you really beautifully executed that, could you get, right? Maybe you could get 600,000, right? It's very limited how much, because you're going to have certain amount of direct costs. You're going to have certain trade partners you have to pay. There's certain prices you have to pay for material. It's going to take a certain amount of labor to do it. Now, how much over could you be on that project? 10%, 20%, 100%, 200%, 300%? It's very possible that you could lose the business on one project, right? It's possible, depending again how you've structured things and different ways with your business model and your exposure. So there's a lot of risks that's involved in construction. You could have 10 profitable projects and you could have one very, very unprofitable project, and it just cleans away the profit of those other projects. So you have to I've done a previous video recently, the Stockdale paradox. You kind of have to come to grips with the reality that you're in. And that's the reality that we're in with construction. You can be, there's no limit to how much over time you can be. Think of Sagrada Familia in Spain, right? And basically how that church has gone on for well over 100 years. Like, it can take a lot, you can be a lot over on time. Same with cost. Think of probably a big infrastructure project in your city that people are talking about as far as being over budget. In Toronto here, we'd probably talk about the LRT as being one as an example. But there is that aspect of how much over we can be. And I'm not sure that we fully appreciate that in our own businesses when we're running construction businesses. And it's just part of the nature of that game. So we're kind of fragile that way. There's an excellent book Nassim Taleb has written. He talks about these kind of things. Construction always seems to be one of the examples. You look at Daniel Kahneman's Think Fast and Slow. You look at Nassim Taleb, his book on anti-fragile, and it seems like a lot of examples come up with construction. There's a certain fragility to that. Going back, actually, I should go back before I go ahead. The stock market, you invest in stocks, well, you're limited to what you invested, right? But it could go up 100%, 200%, 2,000%. Look at some of the dot-coms. If you invested in them at the right time, that would have been a really great return, right? You could have wiped out your original investment with a lot of them, but if you picked the right ones, that would definitely work in your favor. Or if you invested in a public construction company 30 years ago and it survived all of the ups and downs of the marketplace and has really sort of advanced itself and grown, you probably would do very, very well in that. But as far as running your own construction business, that's where you got to be careful and you got to understand that. And running your own projects, right? Even if it's not your business, you're a project manager running your own projects. How do we do that? Well, getting down to more from the 30,000 foot view to maybe more into the weeds a little bit, we have to, and this video is not going to be about, okay, so we're going to, lay 2,000 bricks a day instead of 1,000, and everybody's going to move faster and do things harder, and we're all going to, really sort of rah on productivity. This is really about getting certain things right, and it's not about moving faster. We want to create a safe culture where people feel respected. If you don't have your people feel respected, they're not going to be highly motivated. They're not going to be highly engaged. I'm telling you, right? And you're going to have a lot of turnover. And in our industry, turnover gets us in a big way. When we can't rely that we have a workforce that shows up and that works on day to day, and we're constantly having to retrain people, that's not going to work for us. Create a culture that respects each other. So to do that, you really have to respect each other, and you have to create a culture. We've talked a lot about diversity, equity, and inclusion in our industry, and I'm going to talk a lot more about it. But definitely, if we don't do that, we are not going to get the best out of our people, and we're not going to attract the best people. As Jim Collins often says, get the right people on the bus. To get the right people on the bus, you have to create a bus that people want to get onto, right? Create a culture that sets and uses standards. Well, some of these points that I'm going to have are definitely lean. And those of you that know me, I've really been, redirecting the ship towards lean the last 7 or 8 years. I really believe in a lot of the principles. And I don't think we always have to say lean construction out of lean manufacturing. I just think, if you don't have a standard for how you do things, how do you know to improve it? Because you don't have any standard for how you do things. So how can you make it better? It's all over the map. One day it's this, one day it's that. Everybody does their own thing and nobody knows what's good and what's bad. If you set standards, standard is the way that we do things, and you identify the things that you're going to set standards for, that's going to make you have a benchmark, and now you can dramatically improve from that, because you can look at where are we not doing so well. So creating a culture that sets, but more importantly, uses standards. Anybody can set standards. It's to actually execute on them, right? And from that, then we can create a culture of continuous improvement where we can look at what we're doing, and we've got a culture then that feels safe and secure in their environment, is engaged in their work. We have something to measure against. It's a great starting point for our business. Now, these are no small feats. None of them are any small feat, but the sooner you start, the more that you will reap the rewards. All right, and so that's important. So yes, these other points tie into those previous points. Set the right level of expectations. People need to know I've talked about goal setting and SMART goals and systems thinking and all of those things in previous videos. And by the way, if you enjoy this video, click subscribe and don't forget to click the notifications and you'll see new videos as they come up. But set the right level of expectations. People like when they know what is expected of them. People don't like uncertainty. People like more certainty, and that's helpful. Well, that's how setting standards helps. There's clarity in that. Being consistent, again, setting standards. There's consistency, but also consistency in how you run things and the way that you do things. Now, some people will push back on, well, if you're consistent, then how can you improve? Because you're always doing things the same way. Well, consistency could be part of that is that you're always improving on things that are happening, right? And that's part of the consistent behavior and culture that you're creating. So that's a good process in there. Don't be complacent. Complacency is what gets us, right? Complacency, you know, being a okay company instead of a great company, right? And then okay companies, sooner or later, they kind of just disappear because other companies surpass them, you know? Being mediocre instead of great. All right, so don't be complacent. Always have that hunger to get better. And if you're leading your team, they got to see that hunger so that they get the same kind of vibe. And that helps, again, to create the culture. Leader doesn't have a hunger, leader doesn't have a vibe, the team starts to lose its hunger and lose its vibe. So that's very, very important. Tell the story of why. Not to quote Simon Sinek too much, but he's really good on these points, you know. You really have to know your why, and you can talk about that, and you can tell that there's a story there. Every company has a story. Every project leader has a story. And I've talked about this as well. There's so many altruistic reasons why we're doing construction, right? You know, I had this discussion with one of my laborers students recently, and I think, honestly, they felt, you know, not respected in their work, whatever work environment they were in, and they don't realize the actual value that they give to the world, right? They give huge value. There's a lot of tough, hard work in setting up forms, rebar, pouring concrete. This is not easy stuff. And so you got to appreciate those workers, but those workers also have to understand the positive attributes that they're doing. Instead of just thinking, I'm just making a buck, think about the positive attributes and what you're leaving as part of your legacy. There is that there, but it's buried. And in construction, we have to start celebrating that. If we start celebrating that, it just leads to this contagion of positivity. And through this contagion of positivity, we get productivity. And through that, we get profitability. And if we do it well, then we can make sure that we set the conditions, we pay our people well, and we share the wealth. So these are important fundamentals to think about. Now, going back to some lean points, you know, how do you work in these environments? Like where it's garbage everywhere, you got your materials and your equipment mixed into the garbage, and it's just like, I didn't get it in the photo, but the house that they're constructing, it's like this in the first floor almost, right? And you're stepping over stuff and around stuff. And you want to be profitable on your project? This isn't going to make you profitable. This is going to make people be sloppy in their work, and they're not going to do a good job. So you have to try to look at that. And there's systems out there that can help you to improve. You know, I don't want to knock whoever is doing this, but this is a golden opportunity, right? This is a golden opportunity to dramatically improve their work site, to make it much more safe, to make it much more productive. And if you're looking for a way of doing that, out of lean is the 5 S's: sort, set, shine, standardize, sustain. I get into this in other videos, and I'm going to get into it more in the new year because this is an important area, and it's not so easy to do. It's not so easy to do. It sounds it's not just cleaning the site, right? It's creating a project that people clean up themselves, the different trades clean up for themselves, and they make that environment that it is organized, that you can find things, and that you're not running around in a disorganized fashion. And that as Warren Buffett would say, never lose money. Well, this is losing money. I'm sorry. This is losing money, right? So never lose money, and never forget rule number 1, which is never lose money. The 8 areas of waste. Another one, right? And again, I do this in other videos, but we've got these 8 areas: defects, overproduction, right? Doing more than we have to do when it's not necessary. Wait time. Well, this is huge in construction. This is one that we can spend a lot of time on, but workers waiting for work and work waiting for workers, right? Schedules, there's so much time where nothing gets done. A well-organized project organizes one trade after the other trade, right? And you can see dichotomies between one project and another project that come up with that, where one sits there for a long period of time, where there's a lot of wait periods in between. Non-utilized talent. I've already talked about that, setting that right culture in there to get people involved. Get the introverts involved, get the extroverts involved. Introverts, sometimes they're the smartest person, right, in the room, very often. But if you don't engage with them, you might not get that advice. Transportation, inventory, big ones, especially when we're talking about supply chain issues, and that ties into the wait time one. So again, transportation, inventory, motion. There's so many opportunities to save on motion and run the numbers and see that. And just even small things, just going back to that image here, right? Like you're walking around everything, you're being, you know, all of the motion that is wasted on that, all of the energy that is wasted on that, but it goes much deeper than that. And extra processing. Well, this is looking at the steps of how you do something, right? All of the steps. We call it, in more advanced processes, value stream mapping. But in simple processes, it's like, you know, how are we doing this, right? How are we doing this now? And what can we change? What step can we remove? What step can we make easier? So I think if you look at those and you think about all of them at different points, when you see it's really becoming accustomed to seeing it and creating that culture amongst your team. If you do that well, it'll make a huge difference. Like there's you, but can you imagine if your whole team is thinking that way, right? That is going to really help expose, as we say in Lean very often, expose the rocks, expose the obstacles, right? Ryan Holiday might say in his Stoic books, right? Basically, the obstacle is the way, right? So now we've got this obstacle. How do we deal with it, right? And if you don't know it's there because you're stepping over it and you become complacent, you become accustomed to it, it's the way it is, then that's going to be a problem. How do you dig yourself out of that? You've got to have that passion, that energy to get that going. And there are a lot of things that you can do around this, right? Whether it's having daily huddles as part of your processes and having somebody lead that huddle, letting them take a leadership role, having a quick tip that somebody has to bring every single day for how you're going to make one little tiny improvement on your projects, right? It's a series of tiny improvements that's going to lead to a compounding. Going back to money again, it's the compound effect, right? Tiny improvements over time is going to compound into making you the most efficient, profitable construction business in your sector. And if you get there and you have that continuous improvement culture, you can stay there. It's not like one and done. You stay there, you sustain it, and that is really helpful and important. So I hope you've enjoyed this little video here because there's so much we can dive into on this topic. I'm passionate about it myself, as you can see, but definitely we can make more money on our construction projects by looking at a few things and starting slow. Don't try to do everything at once. If you try to do everything at once, you're going to end up with nothing. Start slow, figure out a strategy, and implement one thing at a time and build it over time. Build those habits, build those rituals, build those routines, right? And if you do that, then it will become sustainable and you'll get the buy-in of everybody that's on the team. So I'm Tom Stephenson, wishing you a wonderful day, and we'll see you next time. Bye for now.